c'est moi.
Allez, demi-tour.
The film begins at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. Agent Vivi DeLay meets with the CIA director and another official. They sit down to talk about a high-priority target, Wolfgang Braun, a dangerous man known as the Wolf. The man is working with his partner, known as the Albino, to sell weapons to terrorists. Vivi is given the mission to eliminate both of them. She asks if there's already an agent in the field. The agent is Ethan Renner. We then see Ethan at a hotel in Paris, where he and Agent Yasmin are trying to stop the albino before he can finalize a deal with a Serbian buyer. Ethan took down the arms buyers and quickly swapped a suitcase of secret codes with the albino. He was on his way to deliver the documents to the other agents waiting in a truck. But then his phone rang. It was a reminder that today was his daughter Zoe's birthday. Ethan hurried to a nearby payphone. Since he didn't have any coins, he gave his watch to a nearby vendor in exchange for some change to call his daughter. Ethan called Zoe but only got her voicemail. Back at the hotel, the albino realized who Yasmin really was. He pulled her into an elevator and once the doors closed, killed her by cutting off her head. Outside, his accomplices started shooting at the agents in the truck, leading to a gunfight that spread from the hotel lobby into the street. Ethan quickly joined the chase, taking down one of the attackers before going after the albino. Ethan grew weak, his steps unsteady as he chased after the albino. Just as he caught up, he collapsed, but still managed to shoot, hitting the albino in the leg. The albino limped away and Ethan passed out. He later woke up in a hospital. The doctor gave him terrible news: he had cancer, and it had spread to his lungs. The doctor said Ethan had only 3 to 5 months left to live. Ethan went back to his apartment and was shocked to find a strange family living there. A man named Jules greeted him warmly and explained that they were refugees who needed a place to stay. Ethan wanted to kick them out, but he was warned that doing so could get him arrested. He pulled a gun on Jules, but then had a change of heart. In the end, he agreed to let them stay until Jules's eldest daughter gave birth. Ethan called his ex-wife Tina while she was out with friends. At first, she didn't want to see him, but when he said it was an emergency, she agreed to meet. They got together to sign some will papers. Ethan told her he was dying but didn't want Zoe to find out. He said all he wanted was to spend time with his daughter. Tina agreed, but only if he promised to quit his job. Ethan agreed to Tina's condition and quit his job. Together, they went to Zoe's school to pick her up. The reunion between Ethan and Zoe was awkward. She didn't seem very happy to see him. Soon after, a well-dressed young man came over and greeted Zoe. She introduced him as Hugh. Hugh was polite when meeting Ethan, but it was clear he felt a bit uneasy. After Hugh left, Ethan gave Zoe a purple bike, thinking it was still her favorite color. But Zoe decided to take the subway with her friends instead, leaving Ethan to drive home alone. On his way back, he stopped at a station and unexpectedly ran into Vivi. She mentioned Zoe and returned the watch he had left at the hotel. Then, Vivi offered Ethan a job and invited him to work with her. Ethan said no to Vivi's offer until she told him she had access to an experimental drug that could save his life. After hearing that, he agreed to help. Vivi gave him a mission: track down and kill the wolf. She brought him to a hotel to find someone who had information about the albino's accountant. Vivi told him there would be only one person in the room, but when Ethan broke in, he found 5 people inside. When no one in the room agreed to talk, Ethan and Vivi ended up killing the entire group. In the elevator afterward, Ethan told Vivi he would only keep working if she paid him $50,000 and gave him a $1 million life insurance policy. Vivi agreed and gave him an injection of the drug. In the next scene, the albino met with a mysterious man and gave him a photo of Ethan, telling him to keep it. Ethan arrived at Tina and Zoe's apartment and heard screaming from inside. Thinking Zoe was in danger, he broke down the door and rushed in. But it turned out she was just upset about a bad haircut. Tina was furious. Ethan had promised to make dinner but showed up 3 hours late. She told him she had a business trip to London the next day and planned to hire a nanny. But Ethan insisted on taking care of his daughter himself. After that, Ethan began to feel dizzy and passed out. He called Vivi and told her he was seeing things. She advised him to drink some vodka to help. Ethan did what she said. The next morning, Tina left for her business trip, and Zoe walked in wearing a red wig. When Vivi called, Ethan told Zoe it was just his boss. Zoe set the song "I Don't Care" by Icona Pop as her ringtone when calling Ethan. Once again, Ethan tried to get her to ride her bike to school, but she chose to walk instead and accidentally dropped her wig on the way. Later, Ethan met with Vivi again. She gave him the check she had promised and reminded him to keep his heart rate steady. She also told him to track down a car dealer named Maytat Yilmaz. Ethan went to the dealership, insulted Maytat's employees, and knocked them out. Then he sat in the office and waited for Maytat to return. When he did, Ethan threatened his family and forced him to come back to the apartment. But before they could leave, Zoe's school called and asked Ethan to meet with the principal. With no other option, he stuffed Maytat into the trunk and drove to the school. Ethan and Zoe met with the principal and found out that Zoe had hit one of her classmates. As they left the school, Zoe explained that she did it because the girl was teasing a student from Pakistan. Ethan wasn't upset. He actually thought it was a good way to handle a bully. Meanwhile, Maytat started making noise in the trunk, so Ethan had to punch him to keep him quiet. Zoe walked away, upset by Ethan's behavior and his constant coughing. But later, she called to apologize and asked him to meet her at her favorite place, a small amusement park with the flying chairs ride. Even though Ethan had planned to keep searching for the accountant, he decided to pause everything to spend time with his daughter. After the ride, Ethan and Zoe sat down to enjoy some hot chocolate. Zoe told him she needed to get to school for a study group with her lab partner. After dropping her off, Ethan stopped by a store. Suddenly, a man with a gun attacked him and started shooting. Luckily, Ethan wasn't hurt. He might have been wearing a bulletproof vest. They got into a violent fight. The attacker stabbed Ethan in the neck, but Ethan managed to shoot him. The man collapsed and died. Ethan realized the attacker had a photo of him, meaning he was a target. When he got home, he noticed a message on Zoe's computer from a friend saying they would meet at the tattoo gallery. Worried, Ethan rushed there right away. At the scene, he saw a car with Zoe's bag inside. He broke into the car and found a flyer with the name of a place called Spider. Ethan went to Maytat's house and asked his twin daughters about Spider. They told him it was a party restaurant. He went there and found it was a loud, crowded nightclub. Inside, he saw Zoe drinking with her friends. Suddenly, he felt dizzy again, so he took a sip of vodka to steady himself. He then followed Zoe quietly and saw 3 men bothering her near the restroom. One of the men's friends tried to stop Ethan. But he quickly took them all down and got Zoe out of the nightclub safely. The next morning, Zoe woke up with no memory of what happened. Still wearing the same dress, she got ready for school, but Ethan reminded her not to dress like that again. Ethan told Zoe to ride her bike to school, but she got upset and said he never taught her how. Feeling guilty, he spent the morning teaching her. People passing by clapped as they watched the father and daughter enjoying their time together. Later, Zoe broke down in tears and asked why he had been gone for so many years. She said she used to think he had another family. Ethan gently told her that wasn't true. As Ethan and Zoe spent more time together, she admitted she hit the girl at school because the girl was flirting with Hugh. Later, they ran into Hugh as he was about to take Zoe to school. At that moment, Ethan saw the accountant, Guido, being escorted nearby. He fired a tear gas grenade at the vehicle, captured Guido, and blew up the truck to stop anyone from following them. Ethan brought Guido back to his apartment to exchange the briefcase he had taken for another one, which held the codes to activate the explosives used by the wolf and the albino. Meanwhile, Zoe called and said she was cooking dinner for Hugh and needed a vegetarian recipe. Ethan asked Guido to share his mother's famous pasta sauce to help her. That evening, when Ethan got home, he found out Jules's daughter was about to give birth. She had a healthy baby girl and named her after Ethan to thank him for letting them stay. Jules said they would move out as promised, but Ethan told them they could stay as long as they wanted. However, Jules explained that his family preferred to move into a smaller house so they could live closer together. Ethan went back to Zoe's house and found out Hugh had asked her to the dance. Zoe was nervous because she didn't know how to dance, so Ethan taught her in the living room. Just then, Tina came home and saw them dancing. She stood quietly, eyes filled with tears. Later, the three of them had dinner together like a real family. After the meal, Tina gently told Ethan he needed to tell Zoe about his condition soon. Ethan and Tina spent the night together, taking a step toward rebuilding their relationship. The next morning, Vivi called with urgent news. The albino was at the Grand Hotel. Ethan rushed there and found that the wolf was also with him. They escaped in a car driven by Maitat, and Ethan gave chase. He rammed their car until it flew off an overpass. The wolf and the albino escaped, but Ethan let Maitat go so he could return to his family. Ethan chased the criminals into a subway station, but got a nosebleed and felt dizzy. As he aimed at the wolf, the albino grabbed him and dragged him toward the tracks. The wolf told him to kill Ethan, but the albino hesitated. As a train approached, Ethan gathered his strength and pushed the albino onto the tracks, killing him instantly. Ethan passed out, and the wolf escaped. When he woke up at Vivi's place, she reminded him of that, but also told him the treatment was working. Later, Ethan, Zoe, and Tina met Hugh and his family. Everything was fine until Hugh's father introduced his business partner, the wolf. Ethan and the wolf recognized each other and shook hands awkwardly. Hugh's parents took everyone into an upscale club. Tina realized Ethan was on a mission and got angry, thinking he had lied. Ethan insisted he hadn't. Suddenly, one of the wolf's men opened fire. Ethan chased him down, took out the thugs, and cornered the wolf in an elevator. Ethan shot the elevator cable, sending it crashing down. Meanwhile, Hugh and Zoe danced in a private room and shared their first kiss. The wolf somehow survived and crawled out of the wreckage. Ethan found him, but was too weak to shoot and dropped his gun. As the wolf reached for it, Vivi appeared and slid the gun back to Ethan, helping him finish the job. Thinking of Tina and Zoe, Ethan couldn't pull the trigger and dropped the gun. Vivi picked it up and shot the wolf herself. Later, Ethan lived with Zoe in a house by the ocean. He decorated a Christmas tree, something he never thought he'd live to do. While talking with Tina, he admitted they'd faced hard times, but were both trying to keep the family together. Tina came over, and Ethan admitted he hadn't always been there for her and Zoe like he should have. Zoe came out, smiled, and invited her mom in so Ethan could make them hot chocolate. He walked into another room, leaving them alone. Sitting beside her mom, Zoe gently asked if Ethan wanted to stay with them. Meanwhile, Ethan found a box with a large syringe and a note from Vivi wishing him a Merry Christmas. She had left him another dose of the medicine so he could keep living and stay with his family. From a distance, Vivi watched them through the window, smiling.